emotional reunion for a long-lost brother and sister 70 years on. A chance encounter can sometimes change our lives forever, and Barbara Jacobs often reflects on the one that transformed hers. Had she not bumped into an old family friend while out running an errand for her boss, Barbara might never have known that she had a third brother, one she knew nothing of. The revelation came out of the blue when she ran into the woman, a former next-door neighbor, in the village near Southampton where Barbara has lived all her life. We caught up on family news. I told her my two older brothers, Clive and Brian, had both recently divorced, and then she started reminiscing about my late mum, Betty, who had died when I was 3 years old. All of a sudden, the incredible story of another brother, Jeffrey, one I'd absolutely no clue existed, just spilled out. I was utterly shocked. I walked back to work in a daze. Why had I not known this before? Why hadn't my family told me? I wonder now if Mum's friend had been waiting for an opportunity to tell me, and because she was elderly she thought she might not get another chance. Talking to other old friends of her mother in the village of West End, Hampshire, Barbara pieced together the tragic untold story of her lost youngest brother. Jeffrey had been conceived while Betty's husband, Frank, was abroad fighting in World War II. She'd met his father, a soldier, at a dance in the village hall. During a brief romance, she'd become pregnant and had given birth to Jeffrey during Frank's absence. All the young women in the village went to the dances, and for a short time the austerity and misery of wartime was forgotten, says Barbara. There was music, fun, laughter. I can understand how appealing it must have been. And Mum became pregnant. Then Dad came home from the war in 1945 expecting to find 2 sons, and there were 3. Barbara can only imagine the furor that ensued, the recriminations, the ultimatum, the subsequent heartbreak. For Frank gave Betty a choice: she could stay with him and their sons Clive and Brian and put Jeffrey, then 18 months old, up for adoption, or leave the family home with her illegitimate son for good. Her decision was an invidious one, but Betty decided to keep the family intact and give up her youngest boy. My mum's friends told me that it broke her heart, says Barbara. I felt her pain at losing him, but when I thought of a little boy, my brother, playing with Clive and Brian and then suddenly being parted from them, and losing his mum, too, it tripped me to shreds. Mum had died many years earlier when I was a little girl, but I remember being so angry, with Mum and Dad by turns. Why had Dad given Mum the ultimatum? Why had she accepted it? I swung between sadness and anger. But mostly I thought, that poor little boy. I couldn't get Jeffrey out of my mind. Barbara was in her early 20s when she first learned of Jeffrey's existence, and for the next 50 years barely a day passed when her lost brother didn't cross her mind. After her father died in 1999 she attempted to find him, but the trail went cold when she discovered Jeffrey's birth certificate, amended to say he'd been adopted but not giving his new surname. Then 2 years ago she applied to the ITV show Long Lost Family, and in April this year, thanks to help from its professional intermediaries who tracked him down through his adoptive surname, Tonks, Barbara met her missing brother for the first time. The emotion of their tearful first hug is captured on film in tomorrow's episode of the program. Embracing his newly discovered sister, 73-year-old Jeff, who spent his early years thinking he was an only child, tells her, "I can't tell you how important this day is for me. I'm stronger now, knowing I have a sister. And that she loves you," says Barbara, 71, holding his hand. "I couldn't stop worrying about you," she tells him. "Oh, I worried lots. I haven't got to anymore. Seeing how happy you are is a weight lifted from my shoulders." Jeff and his wife Wendy, who have been happily married for 50 years, had considered trying to find his birth family when he accessed his adoption records through Bernardo's in 1995. "But I hadn't been wanted when I was 18 months, and I was frightened of a second rejection," he admits. "But you're wanted now, without a doubt," smiles Barbara.